And we're off and underway. Here comes the chase behind. This is a good move now. Lining himself up to the sprint. Is he going to take the stage? Yes, he is.
Hello, welcome to highlights of the Tour of Britain. Stage 6 today, the only way is Essex. They set off from Southend-on-Sea and finish here in Harlow. Another hot day as well, and it was really beating down in Felixstowe yesterday. But the script was rewritten by that man, Wout van Aert. Stage 5 of this year's Tour of Britain was our second circular route on the race, into and out of Felixstowe. There would be several attacks before the leaders reeled everyone in, just before the first co-end point at Freston. They were all together on the climb, and James Fouché still led over the summit from Mark Donovan, Alex Coleman and Tobias Johansson.
So he timed it perfectly. James Fouché does take a further 4 points.
A break of 3 riders finally got clear. Callum Ormiston, Joey Rosskopf and Abram Stockman. At the second King of the Mountains climb at Holbrook Hill, Abram Stockman took maximum points from Joey Rosskopf and Callum Ormiston. Harry Tanfield then led the peloton over the summit, not fancying getting in the break himself today. The crowds were out in force at the sprint in Hadley, where it was the same order of Stockman, Rosskopf and Ormiston. Van Aert, though, this time led the peloton with teammate Jos van Emden. Afterwards, there will be 100 kilometres of beautiful Suffolk countryside. Rivers and bridges glistening in the sunshine, huge crowds out in the villages and towns, and medieval castles as well. Before the 3 leaders were eventually reeled in one by one, leaving what we thought would be a bunch sprint back into Felixstowe, but there would be a twist in this tale.
And Wout van Aert has launched a flyer off the front. Totally different script, opens up a 2-3 second advantage. Wout van Aert lights up the Tour of Britain. Only he can do that.
So all change at the top of the GC. Wout van Aert now in the leader's jersey and with a 3-second gap to the riders chasing him. Ethan Vernon, the highest placed British rider, second on GC, and the German Max Canter rounding out the podium. With me here on the finishing line in Harlow once more is former professional racer David Miller. And Dave, a stroke of genius right at the end there from Jumbo-Visma, and that man again, Wout van Aert.
Yeah, I mean, I felt so stupid afterwards because it was so obvious, and that's what makes it genius. I think they have the race in the palm of their hand, and to pull off a move like that, we see it so rarely in professional cycling. But you can only do it when you've got Wout van Aert. It
was like something out of Top Gun. Slam on the brakes, let the MiGs go past, and everyone's caught by surprise, and then your star pilot's just like gassing off down the road. I mean, just brilliant.
It was brilliant, and I think what was all the more brilliant about it was probably the whole peloton was realising as soon as it happened that they should have seen it coming, because everyone was just expecting them to cut and paste, and they realised that they could do something even better.
All the World Tour teams looking at each other, wondering, as David said there, how did they miss that? In particular, Bora Hansgrohe. Sammy Bennett was looking around, was almost the first one to react, but it was too late once Wout van Aert had got down the road. They're having a difficult week of it as it happens, so let's have a closer look now at what's going on with Bora Hansgrohe.
Everyone, I think, is a little bit scared of Jumbo. They just let them do what they want. They control the race, and then the last 10 Ks, it's full gas. So we want it to be actually a little bit harder. And maybe today, hopefully, some other teams, might try and mix things up a little bit.
Jumbo, it's the best team here, and but the other teams are not really interested to put them under pressure so far.
Normally, all other teams should be telling their guys, hey, look, we haven't got a sprinter here, or we're not going to win the sprint. Let's just go all in. Just attack like crazy,
You need to be smart if you're not strong. We tried to do something yesterday. We attacked a lot in the beginning of the start to make them a bit tired. It worked a bit, but not enough, because he did an incredible final.
Jens, our other director, we're on the drawing board constantly thinking, what can we do? At the moment, we only can get a podium. But, I mean, there's still 3 more stages to go.
Tomorrow will be really interesting with the climbing stages. Ineos, they don't want to lose here in their own home country. They have some strong, a super strong team. They go all in for the next 2 days. So I think will be a lot of firework.
Today, we're going to be all in for Sam. Sam, you know, he's not with the team next year, so it's going to be one of the last lead-outs with Sam, and we really want to try and send him off on a good note.
David, we've focused on Bora Hansgrohe there, but let's be honest, Ineos Grenadiers, Movistar, none of the other World Tour teams have really done anything at the race as yet, have they?
No, they haven't. I mean, Bora Hansgrohe, they had a go yesterday at the start, but they realised that no one else was interested. Uno X, yes, and a few of the smaller teams. But I do wonder, after Jumbo-Visma's play yesterday, whether that's going to inspire the teams to play differently, because otherwise they're just handing the race to Jumbo-Visma. They have to think differently. They have to race slightly more innovatively. So let's see, but I do believe they have to start going today.
You were beating yourself up for not recognising that tactic. Do you think they'll be a bit embarrassed by not covering that move by Van Aert at the end?
I think so. I mean, I think it's perhaps not so much embarrassment, it's more shameful because not only are they not trying, they're allowing Jumbo-Visma to do things that otherwise wouldn't be possible because of the way the other teams are racing. Basically, Jumbo-Visma are controlling everything about this race, and it's up to the peloton and the big teams in the peloton to rip up the script.
There are fewer and fewer stages left, 3 more until we get to the end in Caerphilly, so fewer chances for the other teams to do something. Today's stage 6 is entirely in Essex, so let's take a closer look. After rolling out from Southend's western esplanade in the shadows of the city's historic pier, the first 65 kilometres loop around the towns of Rochford, Southwood and Ferrers and Burnham-on-Crouch for the stage sprint. The route then commences its westerly path towards Harlow through the stage's only King of the Mountain at Ship Road. The final 45k will see the riders jockeying for position to emulate Lorena Wiebes, who triumphed on day 2 of the 2022 Women's Tour at the very same location. Known for having the world's longest pleasure pier and 7 miles of coastline stretching from Shoeburyness to Leigh-on-Sea, Southend-on-Sea has a rich and vibrant cultural offering, including various museums, art galleries and the Cliffs Pavilion Theatre. Located in Essex, Harlow maintains a rural atmosphere with over a third of land use devoted to parks, woodlands, ponds and open spaces. The beautiful landscape of the surrounding countryside and the town's many attractive parks, including 8 conservation areas, all combine to enhance Harlow's green town reputation. I'm joined here on the podium now, just shy of the finish line, by Hugh Roberts of Sweet Spot. And Hugh, let's be honest, it's been a challenging few years, well, for all of us, frankly. The pandemic, of course, meant the race was postponed a couple of years ago. And then last year, with the Queen passing away, meant we had to cut the race short. But back with a bang this year.
Certainly back with a bang, and luckily for us, because we did a bit of luck, the weather has been set fair. So we've seen massive crowds. And tomorrow and hopefully on Sunday in South Wales, we're going to see massive turnouts, which is the fillip that we need for this particular race, but also with the Women's Tour coming up next June. This is all about a rebuilding process. The last 3 years have been horrendous for us, what with the pandemic, and then obviously today is the anniversary of the event of last year when we had to cancel the last 3 stages of the race. I say postpone because tomorrow we're actually redoing the one which was from Tewkesbury to Gloucester on exactly the same route, the 170k route that we would have done last year.
Challenging for cycling in general as well, but some green shoots of recovery, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. The sponsorship market seems to be picking up. I mean, I think people are starting to have emerged now with a bit more optimism as far as the economy and the general sort of what's been a bit of a malaise. Certainly the cycling industry at the moment is a little bit wobbly. That is, for bikes and parts, etc. So when we talk to the cycling industry, they seem to be emerging from a little bit of a doldrum. Unfortunately, our costs have gone up because of inflationary measures and because of the war in Ukraine, etc. There's all sorts of reasons why things have been more expensive. So we're facing quite a lot of headwinds, but I think the future is now a lot brighter. We're seeing that there's more appetite out there for the Women's Tour, and we're almost ready to announce the Women's Tour for next year, starting in Wales and finishing in Manchester, so that'll be good.
Really looking forward to that. Hugh, thank you very much indeed. Of course, it always helps when Jumbo-Visma put Wout van Aert up the road and do something exciting. So let's get straight to commentary now of Stage 6 with Ned Bolting and David Miller.
Thanks, Matt. Stage 6, racing through the flat Essex countryside, starting here along the seafront in Southend-on-Sea. And the neutralised rollout starting bang on time. A couple of riders from the Great Britain team on the front And they're a new leader visible in the red, white and blue leaders jersey. Of course, none other than Wout van Aert. There's a change in the rider wearing the green jersey of the points competition. That now is being worn by Olaf Koy, not on loan to Wout van Aert or Danny van Poppel, and leading that competition by a handsome margin. So slightly overcast down here at Southend, but undiminished and unbridled enthusiasm from the kids who've been let out of school to watch the peloton make its way past the amusement facilities down here in Southend, past the funicular. A couple of jerseys there from Bora Hansgrohe, including Sam Bennett on the right in the dark green jersey. Bingol haven't featured in a breakaway yet, but they've got a rider on the front alongside Eduardo Affini, who no doubt will be doing the role that he had to do along with Nathan van Hooydonk and Wout van Aert yesterday, policing the moves and making sure that nothing too dangerous gets up the road. Wout van Aert now, having won with a 3-second gap, sits atop the general classification with a time gap. In the opening days of this stage race, David, we were talking about Tom Pidcock's tactics of placing high on every single stage. That's become irrelevant now, hasn't it, effectively?
It's become completely irrelevant, and we heard in Wout van Aert's post-race interview yesterday that considers he's got a big gap on GC, 3 seconds with no time bonuses. That's an awful lot for Tom Pidcock to now bring back.
That's excellent. Well, a couple of nippers there on their way perhaps to nursery. Steve Jochen driving that car, a former pro, a sprinter from the Isle of Man, a racer from the 1980s, in which Mick Bennett, the generation of the race director as well, he also raced throughout the 70s and 80s. Mick Bennett, a former medalist at the Olympic Games back in Munich. The white jersey continuing to be worn by Casper van Uden of DSM. It is an extraordinary structure, isn't it? Built in the late 19th century.
2.4 kilometres long.
Yeah.
That is an impressive structure.
That rider from Flanders Baloise has made his way from the back right up to the front. It's their sprinter, Milan Fletin. Harry Tanfield's the second rider in line there from the Unibet team, from the TDT Unibet team. Mick Bennett is about to get the race underway. The flag is in his hand. The flag drops on kilometre 0 and we're underway. We'll get our full distance that is going to be raced today of 146.2 kilometres. That's the distance from Southend-on-Sea to Harlow. There's one climb and one sprint, and inevitably an attack from TDT Unibet straight away.
Well, let's see what Ineos Grenadiers do, because you have Ineos Grenadiers, Bora Hansgrohe and Jumbo-Visma, those 3 riders just off the front there, weren't so interested in jumping straight away on that TDT Unibet rider's wheel.
TDT Unibet now firing another rider up the road to get across to his teammate. Surely that can't be it. Bora Hansgrohe not attacking. Q36.5 now launching a rider on the left-hand side of the peloton to try and get up to join his teammate. And once again, Kamil Małecki from Q36.5, who was in the first breakaway of the day yesterday, who's getting across to the pair from TDT Unibet.
See if we can see any action from the peloton. Doesn't look like it.
Now that rider from Bora Hansgrohe definitely dropping back now.
Well, the peloton is very happy with this 3 riders being off the front.
The peloton might well be. I'm not sure that everybody watching are quite as happy as the peloton, because this is a very, very controllable move.
Yeah, it is a very controllable move. And Stockman once again being in it. Well, TDT Unibet's track record so far in this race is impeccable when it comes to breakaways.
Literally haven't missed a stage. Whether it's Tanfield or Stockman, they have always been up the road and representing themselves. So, TDT Unibet, one of 3 or 4 teams just blocking the road. Niels Pollitt also blocking for Bora Hansgrohe. And Ineos Grenadiers and Jumbo-Visma keeping a very tight lid. No attacks from Uno X today. And I think everybody now is starting to think about tomorrow and the day after as well. Welcome back.
Counter-attack from St. Piran.
Well, St. Piran are going, and they're going with obviously TDT Unibet, and now Bora Hansgrohe and Uno X with a very concerted 2-up attack. As if from nowhere, it was Alex Richardson who darted out in the black of St. Piran just when we were noting how calm it was at the front, and that we were not expecting.
No, and TDT Unibet being brilliant there, vigilant, even at that unexpected moment. Bora Hansgrohe, as ever, present. Uno X, like yesterday. But I think they're immediately aware of that yellow ominously on the wheels.
Yeah. De Vesne's looking round, kind of like almost questioningly of his teammate Rasmus Tiller. What do we do now? But that shaved off 15 seconds immediately from the time gap to the 3 riders at the front of the race. And now another attack, and the team we were just complaining hadn't been on the offensive sees their opportunity to try and fire a rider up the road. So it's Flanders Baloise with an attack, followed by Uno X.
Yeah, but again, Jumbo-Visma rider there. But I think if these riders want it to work, then they have to ignore the presence of a Jumbo-Visma rider. It's Jumbo-Visma are just counting on their presence, neutralising and killing everything. But look there, that Uno X rider has Movistar, who aren't willing either, I believe, to contribute to this. They're just moving forward to shut down what's ahead. Ineos Grenadiers as well, in that monitoring defensive way of playing. Look how easy that Movistar rider is just shutting that move down.
Gregor Mühlberger onto the wheel of the Flanders Baloise rider, but fact of the matter is, though, that time gap has been absolutely sized apart. So that's just 18 seconds now to the trio of riders, pretty close to the intermediate sprint of the day. 100.5 kilometres. And just when we least expected it, the race changed shape, which is always a possibility, but we haven't seen too much of it in the opening 6 days. Now what's going to happen? Will it completely calm down?
Well, for the breakaway, this has completely backfired.
Yeah.
The tactic of slowing down, anticipating the peloton, matching them, that just has not happened.
It was entirely rational, but
Yes.
the peloton has decided otherwise. There's Uno X now counter-attack, and one rider goes clear. Interesting.
Well, the race is back on. Those 3 riders need to get ready for counter-attacks.
They can see what's going on.
Winding up again, trying to build the speed up. They'll be hoping that a handful of riders will be released from the peloton to come up to them.
Yep.
To increase their numbers.
St. Piran, Gregor Mühlberger is after that St. Piran rider. It's Martin Bugge from the front for Uno X. Harry Birchall, I think.
This is perfect for Jumbo-Visma, the way that Movistar, Ineos Grenadiers are covering moves, as well as TD Unibet were before. Jumbo-Visma just hold their position, and they're allowing those other World Tour teams essentially do the work for them.
So that latest attack has been neutralised. Nathan van Hooydonk moves to the front again, and it's not the responsibility of Jos van Emden and Steven Kruijswijk here. It's their more explosive riders. Nathan van Hooydonk is almost inevitably Flanders Baloise now canter. And this attack is Alex Coleman. And Uno X trying it on again. Another rider going clear. That's a big attack from the Flanders Baloise rider.
Yeah, that's the best we've seen so far. Got the gap. Interesting to see if the peloton will let those 2 riders go. Yeah, no, Jumbo-Visma are just reeling it in once again. So,
well, that would be 5 riders within 100 kilometres of the finish, which would just make it uncomfortably difficult, perhaps, for Jumbo-Visma.
Jumbo-Visma just holding a high tempo, trying to deter any more attacks. So, Coleman has made it to those 3 riders. Uno X riders look at that. Jumbo-Visma just controlling this, trying to block the road now. It's quite a wide road, but look at that. It's almost as if we're in the first 5 kilometres again.
Yeah. So Alex Coleman now from Flanders Baloise, their first rider in a breakaway after 6 stages. St. Piran have missed it. St. Piran with Alex, yeah, there we go. St. Piran, the team, the logical team to try and get across. They fired it all off in the first place. And Finn Crockett is the next rider to attack in the black of St. Piran.
Van Hooydonk reacting immediately.
Yeah. It's impressive acceleration from Crockett, forcing Van Hooydonk to work hard there.
Yeah, it is, and it has Bora Hansgrohe rider behind as well.
1 kilometre to go to the intermediate sprint. Almost an irrelevance given what is happening behind at Burnham on Crouch. We have got a 5-rider breakaway at the front. 2 riders have suddenly joined them. Alex Coleman and a rider who I think is Martin Bugger from Una X. We haven't got a confirmation. And a little chase group of riders just gone off the front of a still very active peloton. It's St. Piran who keep animating it, and Bora Hansgrohe now with numbers in that second group on the road. 500 metres to go to the sprint. Jordan Blum is on the front with Abraham Stockman coming through. None of these riders that invested in taking the points, but what they are invested in is holding on to their tiny advantage over the front of this bunch and hoping that it all calms down behind and that they become the second breakaway, effectively, of the day.
Well, the 2 teams that were most active in trying to get into that counter move, Uno X and Blander and Baloise, have made it. You can see behind Uno X riders blocking now as well. St. Piran going again behind.
Yep. Abraham Stockman goes over the line in first place. 5 riders taking the points and neutralising them from behind, but St. Piran are keeping it active behind.
Well, although they're within sight of the peloton, those 3 riders, there you go, St. Piran, well, of course he's going to chase you down. So, the St. Piran rider getting wound up. The Bora Hansgrohe trying to encourage them to keep going.
Bora Hansgrohe, big attack, big dig. I think it's Edie Skelling who's gone clear. He had to make that really stick, didn't he? He had to get away, break the elastic, get clear on the road, Skelling. And he's done just that.
Yeah. Will they see an immediate reaction from Jumbo-Visma or Movistar and Grenadiers? They're the 3 big teams that can control this type of move. Yeah, it's Jumbo-Visma are not letting them go. St. Piran now sitting on the Jumbo-Visma wheel. This time for revenge. Can counter that. He's making it across Edie Skelling, but that's also forced the peloton to react. They do not want more than 5 riders up there. Even Jumbo-Visma will be challenged this close, well, relatively close to the finish in the whole race to have that many riders, and some of them fresh, let's not forget. They haven't been up there all day.
Eduardo Affini it is in the yellow of Jumbo-Visma, who brings Jack Rutkin-Gray with him, and then Frederick Tversnes, looks like Luke Rowe or Ben Turner.
Tversnes getting ready to go, gets in the drops now it's bridged. So, this race is back on. You can see little splits happening.
Yeah. But in the midst of all of that, we did have the only intermediate sprint of the day at Burnham-on-Crouch, and this is the result. These riders were all in a group of 5 off the front, but behind them it was very active. And Abraham Stockman picked up another 10 points and a small financial reward at Burnham-on-Crouch. St. Piran have got another rider off the front, so it's 5 riders in total. Excellent performances from St. Piran and from TDT Unibet in particular. A first appearance up the road from Kian Farmer. Finally, they've been knocking on the door of doing this. And it looks like these 5 riders are going to get together and they'll be the second breakaway of the day. And they've got 1 climb still to go in around about 40 kilometres time.
Puncture there, rear wheel puncture for the TDT Unibet rider.
Stockman.
The break in this situation, having gone inside 100 kilometres to go, apart from Stockman, all fresh riders who'd been in the peloton before, so they haven't got that fatigue that they would have had if they'd been off since the beginning of the day. That does mean the peloton can't just count on them slowing down in the final. We've seen in the previous days, it's not necessarily been a case of the Jumbo-Visma riders speeding up. It's been, the Shimano going on the right-hand side of the road. Remembered at the last minute. The rider having to remind them.
So, neutral service wheel change for Abraham Stockman. The gap between the 5 riders at the front of the race and the peloton is too small to allow the team cars to come forward. And so sometimes these neutral service wheel changes are not the most fluent, although that has gone in fairly quickly. And he's going to be on his way, but he's lost a chunk of time he's going to have to make up. And a momentary confusion, as you pointed out, David, as the Shimano neutral service car instinctively pulled over to the right, while Stockman quite correctly was waiting on the left-hand side of the road because this race is in the United Kingdom. So that wasn't ideal, and an awkward moment, and he won't actually be that far in front of the bunch at the moment.
No, he's going to be probably stuck exactly in between the peloton and the breakaway. The question is, what does the breakaway do at this point? I think they'll continue as they are for the moment, perhaps in the hope that Stockman will be able to draft the neutral service for a bit, but I don't think that's shouldn't happen. But sometimes the commissaires turn a blind eye. But yeah, I think it doesn't look good for Stockman making it back onto that breakaway. The breakaway at this point in time can't afford to slow down.
No, not with the gap at 1 minute and 5 seconds and Steven Kruijswijk on the front. So the only categorised climb of the day, and the breakaway are already on it. Abraham Stockman looking round, caught in no man's land between the front of the race and the bunch, is in an awkward position here, and I don't know whether he's going to necessarily push on or give up here. It seems slightly indecisive. Well, that looks like a rider who's still trying.
He's just waiting to see if the neutral service car is going to come by and
jump on it.
Give him a little bit of a hand.
Trying to use the draft from the moto camera.
He's probably wishing the TV camera would go away at this point in time.
Yeah. And in the meantime, the peloton are bearing down on the climb of Ship Road. They're on it, though, at the front of the race. Jack Rootkin-Gray setting the pace. Will Tidball dropping to the back. Danny van den Duk, the rider from Cairn Farmer, looks like a climber. Jack Rootkin-Gray is a climber. It's not a particularly violent climb, this. None of them are in the Suffolk and Essex stages.
That's going to be a disappointment for these 4 riders, because with Stockman, he's a strong rider, and with a teammate was 100% committed and invested in this breakaway, and that's compromised their chances somewhat.
The road just levels off within this climb now. They don't get to the top until 46.1 kilometres to go or thereabouts. As Danny van den Duk shares a little ice pack by the looks of it with his compatriot there, Hartois de Vries. Is that 500 metres to go? Yeah, 500 metres to go on this climb. Just dragging up to the line. St. Piran's Rootkin-Gray on the front, Tilbull, the world scratch champion on the back. But no real incentive here to disrupt things overly at the top of this categorised climb. And the 4 riders at the front of the race will sweep up all the points for this Cat 3 climb.
He's still pushing on, Stockman.
Jack Rootkin-Gray still on the front. I think he's the only rider with any King of the Mountains points at all. He's in 4th place in that competition with 11 points. So it would be consistent with logic for Jack Rootkin-Gray to cross the line in 1st place. He's the only rider who features in that competition, and he duly does. So he moves from 11 points to 15 points, supplanting his teammate, Zeb Kiffin, and moving into 3rd place in the King of the Mountains competition. But he's a handsome 22 points behind James Fouché, who wears the King of the Mountains competition and will do, wears that jersey and will do again tomorrow. Bidon's being jettisoned at the feet of those spectators. Olaf Koy makes an appearance in the points jersey, as we go back on board with Abraham Stockman, who is not getting any assistance at all from the neutral service vehicle at the moment in terms of drafting. 49 seconds to gap between the peloton and the front of the race, and at least half of that between Stockman and the front of the race.
Well, like almost every day up to this point, the average speed is 44 kilometres an hour. So again, although the race is fairly set in how it's ridden, it's almost exactly the same pace. It's rare you see that every day ends up being almost exactly the same speed.
Oh, there's another puncture at the front of the race.
Oh, no.
Well, Danny van den Duk now has a puncture. So in quick succession, 2 of the 5 riders have needed assistance.
Wow, this is like literally playing into the hands of Jumbo-Visma.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
One by
that
one, they're
breakaway
just
is
dropping.
falling like flies.
Front wheel puncture in this case. And that was Abraham Stockman just flashing past in the company of the neutral service car. 2 different neutral service options available, and this one coming from the back of the Shimano bike. And he's got a 10-12 second gap even to get to Abraham Stockman. But I suppose if he does, David, or Stockman might even wait for him, potentially those 2 riders stand a better chance of getting across to the 3 at the front.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. I think there we can see that Stockman's getting a continuing to chase.
44 kilometres out. Well, that's Steven Kruijswijk's speed, effectively, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's his speed. He's determining the average speed of the race every day.
He's going to have nearly exactly the same data for each day of racing so far. But yeah, they won't believe their luck, Jumbo-Visma, when they hear on the radio there's been 2 punctures at the front. Not that it was a task they couldn't handle, but it's just been made that little bit easier for them.
44.3 kilometres to go. That means at the average speed of the Tour of Britain, we've got an hour to go, except it'll be a little bit less than an hour because the closer they get to the line, the faster it will get. Movistar, the massed ranks of Movistar, riding once again for Max Kanter, their German sprinter, lead-out man turned sprinter. And St. Piran have survived all the series of punctures with Tidbull and Roetgen Gray sitting on the wheel of De Vries. Just confirmation then of the result at the only categorised climb of the day, Ship Road. Jack Roetgen Gray picked up 4 points to move into a clear 3rd place ahead of his teammate Zeb Kiffin, and he will finish the day on 15 points.
Welcome back. So all those punctures on the Ship Road climb meant that just 2 riders, Stockman and De Vries, both from TDT Unibet, were left in the lead. But they were soon swept up with 15 kilometres to go as we rejoined the closing stages.
And we're hearing there's a crash, and it might have involved Fernando Gaviria as well. There he is, he's down. Fernando Gaviria for the 2nd time and in this edition of the race, and and the 7th time in 2023 has crashed, and that looks bad.
It looks like his collarbone.
There he is. You can see it, that blue jersey, touch the wheel, down, and down hard on the right-hand side. A rider from TDT, that's De Vries as well, who's in the breakaway, who's gone down. And still trying to read the intentions of Bora Hansgrohe is proving impossible.
Well, this is exactly what all the sprinters teams want. They want to keep it as slow for as long as possible. It's a rare sight to see this happen this close to the finish. But right now, everybody's just trying to save their lead out. They don't want to burn through any riders, so every team has the same motivation here to go slow.
If the road allows, they are vulnerable. I was going to say, they are vulnerable at that pace to an attack. And it's come from Bingal, almost duty-bound to do that. The pace was so average there that the opportunity did present itself. And it's Peeskens once again. We've seen him do this on a couple of occasions, Dimitri Peeskens. He's off the front with 6.6 kilometres to go. That might just change things a little.
It will fire things up, but again, you can just see they're trying to call each other's bluff. Who's going to start riding first?
Good moment, though, for Peeskens to choose to attack.
Yeah, that was. He managed to squeeze through that gap. You can see that it's all teams up there. Somehow he managed to get himself up there amongst them and punch through.
That was a Tony Galopin move. Kind of thing that Tony Galopin, the French rider, used to do. Or a Philippe Gilbert move. It's close to home, 6.2 kilometres. And he is now out of sight as as you say, the sprinters team start to call one another's bluff. None of them want to take the responsibility of burning their matches and actually starting to control this attack from Peeskens.
This is where Peeskens got to take advantage of this moment. This is where he can get the gap. As the peloton now starts to wind up, they'll immediately start eating into it.
What's he got on the road? Where is that yellow jersey from Bingal? It's a
good gap.
It's a good gap.
But it's a long way to go, and you can see just how easy the peloton's going. There's a lot of relatively fresh legs there and complete teams, so there's a lot of riders to burn through.
16 seconds, that said. Peeskens has not been out there in a breakaway all day. His legs are relatively fresh as well, but here we are now. They're starting to drag race one another. Edie Skellingen alongside him, Fredrik de Versnes, the Norwegian national champion riding for Uno X.
Yeah, suddenly lit up. De Versnes provoking Bora Hansgrohe into riding.
Bora Hansgrohe have lost a couple of riders there. They had 6 riders up the front. They've only got 4 now. I think Sam Bennett is the last of those 4 riders, but I don't see any signs of Niels Pollitt. Meantime, Dimitri Peeskens is holding on to his 15-second advantage, 4.9 kilometres from the finish line in Harlow.
Oh, Bora Hansgrohe in full flight now. You can see there, one of the riders trying to fight their way back up.
I think that's Van Poppel who's getting back in. I think.
Ineos Grenadiers coming up now as well. Oh, Pidcock just got slightly moved by a rider, one of the TDT Unibet riders.
Jumbo-Visma, again, just drop back and allow the other teams to set the pace right on the front, and Peskin still another kilometre closer to home, still has got those 15, 16 seconds in the locker. And really found his rhythm now and trying to make this one stick. 4 kilometres to go then for Dimitri Peskins of Bingöl. Great Britain have moved up on the left-hand side of the Bora Hansgrohe train. Josh Giddings piloting one of their team on his wheel, but it isn't Ethan Vernon. Vernon is a little bit further back.
Yeah, they're going to come back on him really fast.
Yeah, I'm hearing actually that time gap is not 13, it's 9 seconds, so they're coming in fast now. It's Bora Hansgrohe primarily who are doing the work on the front.
Yeah, there are so many teams interested in the sprints who still have a full complement of riders who have not touched the front all day. Bora Hansgrohe being one of them. As you say, Jumbo-Visma have drifted right back. They know they can do that.
All about Bora Hansgrohe at the front. Where is Ethan Vernon? You can see his teammates towards the front, but he's nowhere near the first 30-40 right. There he is, just gone out of the bottom of your frame. So Ethan Vernon is separated from his lead-out train.
I wonder if he's sticking closer to the Jumbo-Visma riders.
I think he is, yeah, knowing that's where the race will come from eventually. Dimitri Peskins at around about 3 kilometres is going to be caught here by Niels Pollitt, Bora Hansgrohe. Going to sweep him up. As Carlos Verona, the Movistar rider, drops to the back now. Misfortune for Movistar in the shape of another crash for Fernando Gaviria, but they've still got Max Canter towards the front where they want him to, where they need him. And Tom Pidcock's Ineos Grenadiers now with 4 riders hit the front.
Yeah, Ineos Grenadiers, we've seen them do this on repeated days, just trying to assume their role now before the proper sprint lead-outs begin. Trying to give Tom Pidcock every advantage to be well placed before the chaos ensues.
And here comes Jumbo-Visma up on the left-hand side of the road. Slightly sketchy moment. You can still see Olaf Koy on Wout van Aert's wheel. So it's still that order. Eduardo Affini, Nathan van Hooijdonk, Wout van Aert, and then Olaf Koy. 5 riders from Ineos Grenadiers on the front, though. Rasmus Tiller drifting around on their wheels in the Red Avuno X. 2.2k to go. Josh Giddings has Noah Hobbs on his wheel.
Yeah, it does look like Jumbo-Visma is sticking to the plan, but which does make sense because I don't think Olaf Koy can deliver the lead out that Wout van Aert can give him. So if you're going for the guaranteed, the best option, then sticking to the plan that works is what to do.
Can Jumbo-Visma do it again? Can they complete their perfect run of series of victories on stage 6?
One of the GP riders.
Yeah, he's dropped his chain, has he? Josh Giddings, that was. Very, very sketchy moment, that, for Giddings, but he's back in the mix and back in front of Noah Hobbs and working with him. Here come Jumbo-Visma, a little bit late now, 1.7k to go. They're moving up on the outside, but Olaf Koy is having to put his nose in the wind a bit there, and his train has been infiltrated by Rasmus Tiller.
Yeah, and it was Josh Giddings there just getting in amongst the Jumbo-Visma train. He's pulled off now. But yeah, it's a little bit more scrappy for Jumbo-Visma here, but they are effectively well placed. Olaf Koy fighting to get back on the wheel of Wout van Aert.
Yeah, and takes it as well with ease from Rasmus Tiller. 1.2 kilometres to go. Big crash at the back. That's cut the bunch in half. A big group going off the front. We've got a couple of riders from Bolton Equities Black Spoke who've gone down. Possibly Rory Townsend, and Movistar also caught up in that. But here we have Ben Turner now hitting the front and pushing for home. We've got Eduardo Affini on his wheel. Tom Pidcock is in the front selection. 2 riders from Bora Hansgrohe. Ethan Vernon moving up on the outside as well.
Oh, Tom Pidcock's at Lamperty that is fighting for that wheel. Still, they know this is quite a heavy sprint, and perhaps that's why Tom Pidcock is up there. But look at that. That is a small group that's left after that crash.
Lamperty on the wheel of Tom Pidcock. Olaf Koy, though, on the wheel of Wout van Aert. 300 metres to go. How far can Van Aert go into this? A big push up the centre of the road from Noah Hobbs and Ethan Vernon. Rasmus Tiller opening it up. Olaf Koy going early, but Tiller has moved past him. Van Uden past him. Koy on the back foot. Vernon bumping and bashing with Olaf Koy. Vernon close to the front. Vernon hits the front. Vernon from, wow, that was Van Poppel, I think, and Vernon in a replay of the sprint for second place yesterday. And I think it's gone the way of Danny Van Poppel. Yeah, Vernon drops his head and he's been beaten by the Dutchman. And Van Poppel, who has been knocking on the door of victory here at the Tour of Britain, finally defeats the winning sequence of Jumbo-Visma. And for once for Jumbo-Visma, it all went wrong.
Yeah, it did. Here, the bits and pieces of the peloton coming in. Nobody in that crash will lose time because of being within 3 kilometres. But still, let's hope no one's injured. And here you go. Look at Ethan Vernon fighting his way through here.
We've seen that from him, haven't we? Time and time again. He finds the gap there, gets past Tiller, but look how quickly Van Poppel is finishing. Ooh, yeah.
He does get it, Van Poppel.
He does get it.
Just
not much in it.
Van Poppel as well, squeezing through that gap, not barging anyone, managing to get through it without touching any of the other riders.
Coy's beaten at that point, not even lunging for the line.
Vernon's so close.
Almost a dead heat then between Danny Van Poppel and Ethan Vernon. Olaf Koy drops down to 4th place on the stage. Bob Donaldson for Trinity Racing, 1 place ahead of Tom Pidcock, who gets into the top 10 once again. Danny Van Poppel finally breaks the Jumbo-Visma stranglehold and celebrates his first win at the Tour of Britain. Van Poppel moves up to 4th place in the general classification. Olaf Koy drops to 3rd. Ethan Vernon is in 2nd place, and Wout van Aert heads the table, still with that 3-second time gap to all the main contenders. Olaf Koy of Jumbo-Visma still has the lead in the greencottages.com points jersey. James Fouché of Bolton Equities Black Spoke retains his lead in the black Pinarello King of the Mountains jersey.
Really good to have today's stage winner, Bora Hansgrohe's Danny Van Poppel with me here on the finishing line. Danny, you've had a few goes this week. Finally, you got the better of Ethan Vernon and Olaf Koy to take the win. How happy are you?
Super happy. What you said, like 2nd, 3rd, and also after the tour, a lot of podiums, and then it's really nice to get a stage win, especially here in England. I like it.
Keeping it in the family as well, we know your mum and dad were both brilliant cyclists, and your brother, your older brother, Boy Van Poppel, getting 3rd at the Vuelta this week as well. So have you been talking to each other? Have you been egging each other on to try and get a win?
Yeah, it's funny. It's for me, it's normal. My whole family is cycling, but my dad told me actually last week, keep doing what you're doing and you or Sam will take the win, and he was right in the end.
It's been a difficult week for Bora, right? You've been trying to get up there. Jumbo-Visma have been bossing the race an awful lot. Has it been frustrating for the team?
Yeah, a bit, because they are so dominant, and I think in this with their train in the Tour de France, even they are super strong. And then in this race, they are absolutely super powerful. But so it makes it more nice to beat them, and of course it's nice. And tomorrow some hills, so I'm looking forward.
It is indeed, Danny. Stay there. We'll have a closer look now at tomorrow's Stage 7. A much lumpier and bumpier affair. The stage sees some decent climbing with 2 Cat 2 climbs, including Winchcombe Hill, averaging just under 10% gradient. The race then heads in a southwesterly direction through the countryside before turning north to tackle the stage sprint at Dursley and the second King of the Mountains climb at Crawley Hill. The late uncategorised climb at Painswick may prove a surprise, and with a max gradient of almost 16%, it could offer a launching point for a last-minute attack into the finish. You're absolutely right, Danny. A few more hills coming at you the next couple of days. How are you at climbing? I know it's not the Alps, but you're also Dutch, which is pretty flat. So how are you in the hills?
I think I'm quite well. I did Germany 1.5 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, and I was super strong. I was 3rd in the GC, so I hope I still have the shape of 2 weeks ago. Then it's possible. But yeah, of course you have Ineos. You know, it's their home race. They want to fight tomorrow, so they go full gas. And to be honest, I'm almost 80 kilos, and Pidcock, I don't know, 40 kilo.
Something like that. Tiny.
But, yeah, so it's not fair, but I do my best. I try to follow the guys, and it's even better to have already stage win in the pocket. Yeah.
Absolutely right. And look, Danny's already getting ready. Not something you see very often. A sprinter already in the little ring, getting ready for those Gloucestershire hills. Danny, thank you so much indeed. Really best of luck between now and the end in Caerphilly. And thank you very much for your company indeed. Live coverage of Stage 7 in Gloucestershire right here on ITV4 tomorrow. Join us then if you can. Bye for now.